Did you know that Miraculous Ladybug came from a simple doodle? And I bet you have no idea how each of the characters came about and evolved. Get ready, we're about to explore the history and evolution of Miraculous Ladybug. Ladybug's origins have a curious story. Her creator, Thomas Astruc, was completely passionate about fiction stories. In his youth, he spent his time reading books, comics, and graphic novels so much that he could even connect with the characters themselves. But there were two genres that completely stole his heart: anime and superhero comics. Since then, he asked himself the following: what would happen if these two were combined? Astruc continued his art career, collaborating with various companies to create stories and develop characters. On the outside, everything seemed to be going very well, but on the inside, he felt trapped. He had only created stories and characters for others. He had never done something for himself, something that belonged to him. And it's at this point where Astruc's story seems like something out of a fairy tale or maybe a comic book. One day, just like any other, Thomas was at work, doing what he always did, creating and designing stories for the company. But suddenly he noticed that one of his co-workers was wearing a peculiar t-shirt with a ladybug design. That t-shirt sparked the greatest burst of imagination he had ever experienced in his life. He didn't know it yet, but the heroine he was about to draw would completely change his world. It all started with a simple drawing on a sheet of paper, the first design of Marinette made in 2004. And have you ever wondered why ladybugs? Well, in France there's a belief that ladybugs bring good luck. Their bright colors and unique patterns make them look like a natural talisman. The interesting thing about her design is that Thomas Astruc took several features from the girl at his work to create Marinette, like her hairstyle and some facial features. But no, unfortunately, nothing is known about the girl who inspired Ladybug. Possibly she preferred to remain anonymous, but we leave you with a possible representation of her. What was the first version of Ladybug about? Let's just say it wasn't entirely for kids. In fact, Thomas had planned for these stories to be made for adults. The concept was almost the same: a student with a double life, being kind and gentle by day, and fighting villains in an extreme and bloody way by night. That's right, Ladybug was going to be the toughest and most violent heroine you could imagine. At last, Astruc would fulfill his greatest dream of combining anime or manga with superhero comics. There was just one big problem. The scenes and images presented by this ladybug were too explicit, so instead of companies being interested, they were actually scared off. What they were looking for were stories made for the whole family, which could be sold to the masses. Anyway, once again, the companies wanted to manipulate Thomas's idea. Although, honestly, even he realized that his first idea was a bit exaggerated. So he modified the stories and the approach so that now it would be something everyone could watch. And this is the point where Noir was born. And the interesting thing is that his design and creation have to do with Ladybug. If you remember, ladybugs symbolize good luck, so their counterpart would be... exactly, a black cat, a symbol of bad luck almost worldwide, thus forming the perfect duo. But the real opportunity for Ladybug to stop being just a simple sketch came when Astruc met Jeremy Zag, producer and founder of Zagtoon, a French studio that was looking to create animated content for international audiences. Thomas seized the chance to show him all his Ladybug sketches. Zag was intrigued by the concept and visuals. So together, they began to develop the concept further, adding elements like a more colorful and vibrant Paris. Villains with unique powers derived from akumas, magical butterflies capable of corrupting people. And the concept of the miraculous magical objects granted by small beings called kwamis, which give powers to their holders. Besides balancing action, comedy, and romance, A fun fact is that the stories of Ladybug are inspired by the narrative of the anime Sailor Moon and even by the narratives found in Spider-Man. Astruc later joined Method Animation to produce the series with globally competitive visual quality. So finally, in 2012, we had the first animated pilot of Miraculous Ladybug, except it was basically an anime. The idea was presented to potential investors and entertainment moguls, but the animation was rejected. The idea, the stories, and the characters were perfect. The only thing they didn't agree on was the anime style. Back then, the Western entertainment industry wasn't so open to pure anime, especially because of the fear of failure. That's why they decided to switch to 3D animation, keeping the anime influence in the expressions, but making it more appealing to the global market. In fact, there was only one company that was interested, SK Broadband from Korea, who invested $10 million to boost the Miraculous Ladybug project. So it was official, Thomas's dream was finally going to come true. But despite the budget, making the series wasn't that easy. In fact, it took them 3 years for Miraculous, The Adventures of Ladybug, and Cat Noir to officially premiere in 2015. And this was because they took their work very seriously, since one of the things that took them the most time was recreating all the streets and buildings of Paris using real photos so that they would be recognizable to the audience. The first episode that was broadcast was the one about the stormy weather. This happened in the country of Korea on September 15th, 2015. But why in Korea? If Ladybug was created in France? Do you remember the $10 million SK gave? Broadband? Oh. Yes. A month later, the series was finally released in France on October 19th with the episode Bubbly. The series became popular in the blink of an eye and gained a fan base almost immediately. This achievement led to the series being distributed in more than 150 countries and translated into dozens of languages. This was something spectacular, since it usually takes other shows months or even years to be translated into other languages. The fan community grew even more, generating theories, fan art, and of course cosplay. The success was so great that in 2016, Netflix bought rights to the first 3 seasons, even without knowing if they'd be released later. This success led to Season 2's release at the end of 2017. And compared to the first season, this second one focused more on giving us background to the story. But the biggest change we would have was that Felix was replaced by Adrian. This was because they thought Felix was considered too cliché. His personality was very similar to that of an anime protagonist. And the truth is that this didn't seem like something interesting in the long run. That's why they decided to create a mysterious connection between Adrian and Marinette. A fun fact is that this idea of a mysterious romance was inspired by Lois and Clark from Superman. Oh yes, even at this point we were still drawing inspiration from comics. And that's how Felix little by little started to leave Marinette's heart. Season 3, with 28 episodes, released on December 1st, 2018, brought with it one of the most sought-after treasures for the fans. The Cat Blanc episode, which was originally going to premiere in the 2nd season, but was cancelled and brought into the 3rd. This episode was going to last a little over an hour, but it was reduced to only 22 minutes so it could be released in the television format. To this day, the extended version has not been made public, which is a treasure many of us would like to see. And the success of Miraculous kept growing uncontrollably. So, on November 21st, 2020, we had the premiere of the special series Miraculous World, of which we've had 4 episodes so far. What's special about these episodes is that they last 50 minutes, and our heroes travel to different parts of the world to explore different cultures. After this special, we had Season 4, which was originally planned for 2020, but a certain virus delayed the premiere and it ended up being released in 2021. This was key for Marinette's development, as she takes on the role of Guardian of the Miraculous, which increases her responsibility.
Season 5, which was released in June 2022, brought drastic changes in the relationships and the plot became darker.
And the success took Miraculous beyond television. It expanded to comics, video games, a live musical, and it was even brought to the big screen. This happened with the 2023 film Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir. In fact, it had unexpected success, as it grossed over $40 million. Finally, the 6th season was released in January 2025. And here, one of the few redesigns since it became an anime happened. Many people loved this redesign, but for others, it ruined their lives. These designs look more detailed and polished, but I don't know. What do you all think about these new designs? To this day, Thomas Astruc is still involved with Miraculous as the creator and creative consultant. Although he has delegated part of the production to other teams, the series continues to expand, with plans for new seasons and even specials. But tell me, what do you think about the evolution of Ladybug? We'll be reading your comments.